Gonzaga Nation SI, Dan Dickau here as your host with a special guest today. Due to a reschedule of this game, we have the head coach. Last week we had the radio play-by-play man of the Dons, Pat Olson, when we thought the game was happening. Now the head coach, Todd Golden, is willing to join us. So Todd, I appreciate you carving out a few minutes. Hopefully the trip to Spokane went well today.
I appreciate you, man. Yeah, no problem at all. And we had a light little trip up this way, and it's good to be in town.
Well, I've been really high on the WCC over the last few years, thinking that the league was trending in the right direction. Didn't always lead to more than 2 NCAA tournament bids. Looks like this may be the year 3, possibly 4 teams are in. I really like what your ball club's doing so far this year. Tell us a little bit about the adjustments that you have made, which is now your 3rd year as the head coach.
Man, where do you want me to start? It's been an interesting, in all great stuff. And obviously we had a lot of success my first year. I think we won 21 or 22 games. Actually pushed Gonzaga to the brink in the WCC tournament, lost by 4 points or whatever it ended up being. And we were really excited to continue growing the program and seeing, what we could do in that first off season. But then the pandemic started and, it ended up being a really difficult year to navigate through. And we had some good moments last year. We beat the number 4 team in the country, Virginia, early in the year. And we got off to a relatively good start, but had a COVID pause mid-year that was not kind to us. And we really struggled down the stretch. And so we really had to fight through that. And that was something that I didn't really expect to have to deal with as a head coach in my 2nd year. And in a way, I think it was a blessing in the sense of we had to kind of bottom out and decide where we wanted to take the program in year 3. And, the first positive step was obviously Jamari Bouye coming back and taking advantage of his extra year. And that allowed us a great centerpiece to build around, and then adding guys like Masalsky and Patrick Tapé and Gabe Stefanini and Zane, guys like that from the transfer portal, with our talented players like JB and Khalil and Josh and Julian. It gave us a really good team, a really good older group. And so when we got everybody to campus in June, I thought if we could, get this team to play together and get everybody on the same page, that we would have a successful year. And knock on wood, so far we've done pretty well.
Yeah, you're one of the first teams in the country to get to 15 wins, I believe it is. Yeah. When you look at the style of play, you guys have always spaced it, shot a lot of threes, but the addition of Masalsky within the conference from USD to USF is, I think, really giving you guys an inside presence. Has his scoring and his toughness been a surprise, or is it exactly what you were expecting?
It was what we were expecting. I think we have a different lens, than most Gonzaga folks in terms of the talent and the type of players. And, we always thought he was a really tough player. And obviously they had some good success in his freshman and sophomore year. They played the NIT. Last year is not as much. And, we thought if we could pair him with our backcourt, it would be mutually beneficial for both him and those guys. And, we looked at our team last year and we realized how volatile the perimeter shooting made our team, and we could beat anybody in the country, like we proved when we beat Virginia, but we could also lose to anybody in the country. And so we wanted to kind of stabilize that volatility. And I think Yayan and Pat have done a good job of raising our floor in terms of, now we have some inside scoring. Yayan's really our back to the basket threat. Pat is a much better finisher, rolling to the rim and off offensive rebounds and kind of broken plays. But both of those guys shoot an insanely high 2-point field goal percentage. And Jamari does as well from the guard position. And now you looked at a team that was really, really poor finishing from 2 last year. I think we're top 12 or 15 in the country in 2-point field goal percentage this year. And that's the reason why we've been able to be so much more consistent this year.
You mentioned the field goal percentage from 2. Your previous boss at San Francisco, now at Washington State, he likened it as nerd ball when he's looking at analytics. I know you really look at it in depth as well. Where does the balance come in for you as a young, just fresh out of playing a few years, to coaching of balancing the eye test with the analytics?
Yeah, it's a great question, because that's the challenge, right? I think you can find guys that are very heavy analytically and don't really understand that there is a human element to this, and that there are other variables that matter when determining what you're doing. And there's some people that don't think analytics has any place in sports. And I think what I try to do is really just pair them and marriage them and find that healthy balance of knowing what the numbers is telling you, but at the same time trying to articulate it in a way to the players. First of all, it's where it makes sense, and number two, where we can go out and execute it. And I think we've, knocked on wood, I think we've done a relatively good job doing that. And it's a continuing challenge. I don't think there's ever, necessarily an end game of where you're going to get to where there's a perfect balance. But I just know if you're one way or if you're too heavy one way or the other, it's just not going to work out. And so I think, with talking to our guys, we pair film with a lot of the analytical stuff that we do so we can really show them what we're talking about. And I think that's a good way to help facilitate that conversation. And we also have really intelligent kids in our program. This league has a lot of intelligent kids in their programs. And so I think our guys might be able to take on a little more of that as well and be able to go and execute it on the floor.
You're a guy who has a tremendous amount of experience in the WCC. You played at St. Mary's. You've been an assistant. You're now a head coach. So you've been in the McCarthy Athletic Center as a player with the Kennel Club getting on you, I would imagine, talking a little trash. And then you've probably seen it, I'm guessing, as an assistant coach where maybe you enjoy it a little bit, but now you're the head coach and you're trying to get your team to block out some of the extra noise. Do you have one or two Kennel Club experiences that stand out to you?
The funny thing is, my first year at St. Mary's, I redshirted. I still traveled with the team that year, and that was the last year that they played in the old kennel. Even before opening up the new facility, and that was shocking to me, to be honest, because Coach Few had already continued building the program to an insanely high level at that point. It was 2003, 2004. But we walk in and I see where we're playing. I'm like, man, this is a high school gym. I mean, let's be honest, right? There's no seats on either side of the basket. And now in the new kennel, fans are definitely on top of you. But in the old kennel, I think fans were actually allowed to stand on the court basically during the game and block shots from the court. No, but it was such a great, experience. It was what college basketball was all about. And then moving into the new arena, I think Gonzaga did a wonderful job of building a new state-of-the-art facility where they didn't lose that home court feel and advantage of the old kennel, keeping the students so close to the court. And obviously the students have done a great job of continuing to build up the kennel and the way they represent at the games. But it's a great atmosphere. It's obviously very challenging. I never won here as a student athlete. We had some really close games, and we've done a decent job my first couple of years up here, at least early in the games. My first year as the head coach, we were up by 9 at halftime. We did a really good job bothering them. So I think there's some things, through my experience that I feel like I have a good understanding of, ways you can bother them or slow them down up here, and try to impart that onto our younger guys. But it's one of those things that you can't really understand it until you experience it. And so fortunately for our team, a lot of our guys have been here before, so they won't be shocked when they walk in and see, a crowd full of fans 30 minutes before tip, unlike any other place on the West Coast. And guys like Jamari and Yayan now in their 5th years, I hope that it won't bother us as much, although, it's obviously a really difficult thing to walk into.
It is a difficult thing to walk into as an opponent, and I am glad that as a former student athlete at Gonzaga, I had the kennel behind me. So glad to hear you have some positive and fun experiences. I really appreciate the time, Todd. Best of luck against the Zags Thursday night, and best of luck in the WCC the rest of the way. And just know that a lot of people in Spokane, as well as West Coast Conference fan, are pulling for 3 or 4 teams from the league to make the tournament. So thanks again for joining.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Dan. I'll see you tomorrow, or I'll see you Thursday.